The artist's obsession, Marcus Thorne, had always been different. While other kids played video games or collected trading cards, he spent hours sketching faces that didn't exist. At least, that's what everyone told him. But Marcus knew better. The woman he drew wasn't imaginary. She was real, somewhere out there among the stars. His cramped apartment in New Geneva was a shrine to his obsession. Hundreds of drawings covered every wall, each one showing the same ethereal face. High cheekbones, eyes like liquid starlight, and skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner glow. Her hair flowed like silver water, and there was something about her expression that spoke of ancient wisdom and infinite sadness. "You're losing it, Marcus," his friend Jake had said during his last visit. "Maybe you should see someone." This isn't healthy. But Marcus couldn't stop. The dreams came every night now, vivid and intense. He saw her standing on alien worlds, her face lifted to foreign suns. He felt her presence like a whisper in his mind, calling to him across impossible distances. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday. Marcus was working late at the Quantum Research Institute, monitoring deep space signals from the Kepler array. The job was mundane, mostly automated, but it paid the bills and gave him access to the most powerful listening equipment on Earth. That's when he saw it. A signal, faint but unmistakable, buried in the cosmic background radiation. It wasn't random. It was a pattern, repeating every 47.3 seconds. Marcus ran it through the translation algorithms, but nothing came back. The signal was too complex, too alien. Then he did something that would change everything. He pulled up one of his drawings on his tablet and held it next to the signal display. The patterns matched. The curves, the frequencies, the rhythm of the transmission corresponded exactly to the artistic lines. He'd been drawing for 20 years. His hands shook as he isolated the signal and began transmitting a response. He used the same patterns, the same frequencies, broadcasting into the void with all the power the array could muster. For 3 hours, he sent his artistic interpretation into space, hoping someone would hear. The response came at 3:47 a.m. A massive ship appeared in Earth's orbit, sleek and organic-looking, like a living thing born from starlight and dreams. It made no aggressive moves, simply waited. Government agencies went into overdrive, but Marcus knew the truth. She had come for him. The message arrived on his personal terminal an hour later, bypassing every security system on the planet. It was simple, elegant, and written in perfect English. "Your art has called to me across the void. We need to talk." Marcus stared at the screen, his heart pounding. 20 years of drawing a stranger's face had led to this moment. He was about to meet the woman who had haunted his dreams, and somehow he knew that nothing would ever be same. The ship's shuttle landed in the desert outside New Geneva at dawn. Marcus drove there alone, leaving behind his life, his job, everything he'd ever known. As the craft's door opened and she stepped out, exactly as he'd drawn her 1,000 times, he finally understood why he'd never been able to stop. She wasn't just a woman. She was destiny itself, wrapped in starlight and mystery. First, contact the woman who stepped from the shuttle was even more stunning than Marcus's drawings had captured. She moved with fluid grace, her silver hair catching the morning light like spun moonbeams. But it was her eyes that held him transfixed, deep pools of starlight that seemed to see straight through to his soul. "Marcus Thorne," she said, her voice like music from distant worlds. "I am Zephira of the Celestial Dominion. You have been calling to me." Marcus found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. "I've been drawing you since I was 12 years old. I never understood why." Zephira approached him slowly, studying his face with the same intensity he'd once reserved for his sketches. "Your species calls it quantum entanglement, what we call the binding of souls. Across space and time, consciousness seeks consciousness. You found me before we ever met. She gestured to the shuttle behind her. Will you come with me? There is much you need to understand about your world, about mine, and about the war that's coming. Marcus hesitated for only a moment. War? The Dominion has been watching Earth for centuries. Your species shows remarkable potential, but you're not ready for what's approaching. The Devourers have found you, and they consume entire civilizations. They're already moving through your outer solar system. As if to emphasize her words, the sky above them flickered with unnatural light. Ships appeared, massive and predatory. Their hulls black as the void between stars. They hung in the atmosphere like harbingers of doom. The first wave, Zephyrus said grimly. They're testing your defenses. Marcus watched in horror as the alien ships began descending toward Earth's major cities. We don't have any defenses. We're barely capable of interplanetary travel. No, Zephyrus corrected. You have something far more valuable. You have adaptability, innovation, the ability to find solutions where none should exist. It's why the Dominion has been preparing for this moment. She led him into the shuttle, and as they lifted off, Marcus got his first close look at the Devourer ships. They were massive, organic-looking things that seemed to absorb rather than reflect it. Smaller craft swarmed around them like insects already beginning to attack Earth's satellites and space stations. How long do we have? Marcus asked. Hours, perhaps less. The Devourers don't waste time with diplomacy or warnings. They consume and they move on. The shuttle docked with Zephyrus' ship, and Marcus found himself in a vessel that defied every law of physics he thought he understood. The corridors curved impossibly, and the walls seemed to pulse with their own inner light. At the ship's heart was a command center that offered a panoramic view of Earth and the approaching threat. Why me? Marcus asked as they watched the first Devourer landing craft breach Earth's atmosphere. Why did you connect with me specifically? Zephyrus moved to a console that responded to her touch like a living thing. Because you're a bridge. Marcus, your mind operates on frequencies that can interface with our technology. You can see patterns that others miss. And right now, we need someone who can help us coordinate Earth's defense. I'm not a soldier. I'm barely an engineer. You're an artist who found me across the void using nothing but intuition and quantum resonance. You'll be whatever this war needs you to be. The ship's communication system crackled to life. Reports flooded in from around the globe. Major cities under attack. Military forces mobilizing but outgunned. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence was turning into a nightmare, but Marcus noticed something in the chaos. The Devourers weren't just attacking randomly. There was a pattern to their assault, a rhythm he recognized from his years of studying frequencies and signals. Zephyrus, he said, moving to the console. They're not just consuming. They're harvesting something specific. Look at the targeting patterns. She joined him, and together they watched as the data streams revealed the truth. The Devourers were focusing on areas with high electromagnetic activity, places where human creativity and innovation flourished. They feed on consciousness, Zephyrus breathed. They're not just destroying your cities. They're consuming your species' potential for growth. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Then we need to fight back with the one thing they can't consume, which is. He looked at her, seeing not just the woman from his dreams, but humanity's best hope for survival. Human stubbornness. We don't know when to quit. The unlikely alliance, the war room aboard. Zephyrus' ship buzzed with activity as reports continued streaming in from Earth. The Devourers had landed in 12 major cities, their biomechanical structures spreading like cancer across the landscape. But something unexpected was happening. The humans aren't retreating, reported Kex, Zephyrus' tactical officer, his crystalline features reflecting surprise. "They're adapting faster than any species we've encountered." Marcus leaned over the holographic display, watching real-time footage from the battlefields. In Tokyo, construction crews were using industrial equipment to build makeshift barriers. In London, citizens had turned the underground into a network of bunkers. In New York, a group of hackers was actually attempting to virus bomb the Devourer. "Craft, this is insane," Marcus muttered. "Those ships are technology centuries ahead of ours." "Yet your people are causing significant disruption," Zephyr observed. "The Devourers expected quick capitulation. Instead, they're facing guerrilla warfare from a species that refuses to acknowledge impossible odds." A new signal appeared on the display. General Patricia Hawkins, head of the newly formed Earth Defense Coalition, was broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is General Hawkins to any friendly alien forces. We know you're out there. We've seen your ship in orbit. Humanity requests immediate assistance in coordinating defensive efforts." Marcus looked at Zephyra. "She's talking to you." "To us," Zephyra corrected. "You're the bridge between our species now." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Marcus found himself translating between human desperation and celestial dominion protocols. His artistic mind, trained to see patterns and connections, proved invaluable in coordinating the defense. The breakthrough came when Dr. James Wright, a quantum physicist from MIT, made contact with the ship. Through Marcus's translation, he explained a theory that made even Zephyra's advanced mind race with possibilities. "The Devourers consume consciousness," Wright said via the communication link. "But consciousness creates reality at the quantum level. If we can synchronize human creative thought with celestial technology, we might be able to create a resonance field that disrupts their feeding process." Marcus understood immediately. "It's like the signal that brought us together. Human creativity amplified by alien technology." Within hours, they had a plan. Zephyra's ship would provide the technical framework, while humans around the globe would contribute their most powerful weapon, their imagination. Artists, musicians, writers, and dreamers were recruited to participate in the largest act of collaborative creation in human history. The first test came over London. As Devourer forces converged on the city, 10,000 humans gathered in Trafalgar Square. They sang, painted, wrote, and dreamed, their combined creative energy channeled through celestial amplifiers hidden throughout the city. The effect was immediate and stunning. The Devourer ships began to falter, their biomechanical systems disrupted by the chaos of human creativity. The aliens, accustomed to feeding on ordered consciousness, couldn't process the beautiful randomness of human artistic expression. "It's working," Zephyra said, wonder in her voice. "They're actually retreating," but the victory was short-lived. The Devourers regrouped, adapting their strategy. Instead of feeding on consciousness, they began targeting the creative centers directly, seeking to eliminate the source of resistance. Marcus watched in horror as Devourer forces converged on art museums, music venues, and schools. They were trying to destroy humanity's creative spirit at its source. "We need a new strategy," he said. "Something they can't adapt to." Zephyra placed her hand on his shoulder. "What do you propose?" Marcus looked at the display, showing Earth's desperate struggle. An idea began to form, brilliant and terrifying in its simplicity. "We don't just use human creativity," he said. "We weaponize it. Turn every human being into a living broadcast antenna for pure, unfiltered imagination." The plan was audacious. Using celestial technology, they would create a global network that connected every human mind to the quantum field, not to control them, but to amplify their natural creative chaos. "The risks are enormous," Zephyra warned. "Linking consciousness on this scale has never been attempted." Then it's a good thing humans specialize in attempting the impossible, Marcus replied. As the Devourers pressed their attack, humanity prepared for its greatest gamble. They would either save their world through the power of imagination, or die trying. Either way, it would be a very human ending to the story. The network awakens. The global creative network went online at precisely 1447 GMT, connecting 8 billion human minds through celestial technology that hummed with barely contained power. Marcus stood at the center of it all, his consciousness serving as the primary node between human creativity and alien amplification systems. The moment the network activated, the world changed. In São Paulo, a street artist's graffiti began moving across walls, telling stories of resistance that inspired everyone who saw them. In Mumbai, a programmer's code started writing itself, creating defensive algorithms that learned and adapted faster than any AI. In Oslo, a composer's symphony resonated through the aurora borealis, turning the northern lights into a weapon of pure beauty. The Devourers, expecting to face scattered resistance, instead encountered a planet-wide storm of unleashed imagination. Incredible, Zephyra breathed, watching the displays. Human creativity is destabilizing their entire fleet structure. Marcus felt it too. A network wasn't just amplifying individual creativity, it was creating something new. Millions of human minds, each contributing their unique perspective, were generating ideas that no single consciousness could conceive. In the war zones, the effects were immediate and dramatic. Devourer bioships, designed to consume ordered thought patterns, began malfunctioning when confronted with pure creative chaos. Their feeding mechanisms couldn't process the stream of human imagination flowing through the network. But the Devourers weren't done yet. They're adapting again, reported Lieutenant Torres from the Beijing Defense Center, deploying some kind of dampening field. Marcus watched as the alien ships released clouds of dark energy designed to suppress the creative network. Where the dampening fields touched, human inspiration began to fade, replaced by fear and despair. They're attacking creativity itself, he realized, trying to shut down the network by crushing human imagination. The battle became a war of ideas. As the Devourers spread their dampening fields, humans responded with even greater bursts of creativity. Children drew pictures of monsters being defeated by heroes. Musicians composed songs of hope and defiance. Writers crafted stories where the underdogs always won. Each act of creation sent ripples through the network, but the dampening fields were growing stronger. Marcus could feel the network beginning to strain under the assault. We're losing nodes, Zephyra reported. The network is fragmenting. That's when Marcus had his most audacious idea yet. What if we don't fight the dampening fields? He said. What if we use them? He explained his plan to Zephyra and the Earth Defense Coalition. Instead of resisting the Devourer's attempt to suppress creativity, they would channel it. Every act of suppression would be met with an equal and opposite explosion of human imagination. The plan required perfect timing. As the Devourers deployed, their ultimate dampening field, designed to crush all creative thought on Earth, the network would redirect that energy into a single focused burst of pure human creativity. It's never been done, Zephyra warned. The psychic feedback could destroy every connected mind. Then we'd better make sure it works, Marcus replied. The moment came as the Devourer mothership descended toward Earth, its massive dampening field spreading like a shadow across the planet. In that instant, Marcus felt the network's connections begin to fail, creativity dying in minds around the world. But instead of despair, he felt something else: defiance. Humanity's refusal to accept defeat. 8 billion human minds faced with the extinction of their creativity responded with the most human reaction possible. They got angry. The network erupted in a storm of defiant imagination. Every suppressed dream, every stifled innovation, every creative impulse that had ever been told it wasn't good enough, burst forth in a tsunami of pure human spirit. The devourer mothership, expecting to feast on the death of imagination, instead found itself consuming concentrated human stubbornness, creativity, and an absolute refusal to give up. The effect was catastrophic. Devourer biosystems, designed to process ordered consciousness, couldn't handle the chaotic energy of human creative defiance. Ships began to malfunction, their feeding mechanisms overloading as they tried to consume something that grew stronger. The more it was suppressed, one by one, the devourer fleet began to retreat, their ships fleeing a planet whose inhabitants had turned imagination itself into a weapon. But the war wasn't over yet. The retreating devourers left behind a parting gift, a final challenge that would test humanity's creativity like never before. As their mothership departed, it released a signal that would bring others. The devourers had marked Earth, and soon more would come. Humanity had won the first battle through creativity and stubbornness, but the war for their survival was just beginning. The new dawn 6 months after the devourer retreat, Earth had become a different world. The global creative network, once a desperate weapon of war, had transformed into humanity's greatest tool for advancement. The connection between human minds and celestial technology had opened pathways to innovation that nobody had imagined possible. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed orbital defense platform, watching as construction crews worked alongside celestial engineers to build humanity's first true starship. The vessel was a fusion of human ingenuity and alien technology, its hull decorated with art from every culture on Earth. "The harmony," Zephyr said, joining him at the observation window. "Your people insisted on the name." "It fits," Marcus replied. "We're not just building a warship. We're building a symbol of what humans and celestials can create together." The partnership between the two species had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Human creativity, amplified by celestial technology, was producing breakthroughs in physics, medicine, and engineering that advanced both civilizations. In return, the Celestials were learning to appreciate the beautiful chaos of human imagination. "The scout reports are concerning," Zephyr said, bringing up a holographic display. "Long-range sensors have detected devourer movement in the Proxima Centauri system. They're not just returning to Earth. They're systematically consuming every creative species they can find." Marcus studied the data. The devourers had adapted to their defeat, becoming more aggressive and methodical. They were no longer just consuming worlds. They were eliminating any species that might pose a threat to their feeding process. "How many civilizations have they destroyed?" 17 confirmed? Possibly more. They're moving toward the galactic core, where the highest concentration of creative species exists. The implications were staggering. If the devourers succeeded in their campaign, they would eliminate creativity itself from the galaxy, leaving behind only empty worlds and sterile space. "The Celestial Council is meeting tomorrow," Zephyr continued. "They want to discuss humanity's proposal." Marcus nodded. 3 months ago, he had presented an audacious plan to the Celestial Dominion. Instead of waiting for the devourers to return, humanity wanted to take the fight to them, but not through conventional warfare. The plan was called Project Renaissance, and it was based on a simple human principle: the best defense is a good offense. Instead of simply protecting creative species, they would actively spread creativity throughout the galaxy. "The Harmony is ready for its first mission," Marcus said, "and we have volunteers from every nation on Earth." The ship's crew was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Artists, scientists, philosophers, and dreamers from every human culture, working alongside celestial explorers and engineers. Their mission was to find species on the verge of developing creativity and help them accelerate that development. It was warfare through inspiration. The first test came in the Vega system, where a species called the architects had developed incredible building techniques but had never discovered art. The Harmony's crew introduced them to music, poetry, and visual arts. Within weeks, the architects were creating structures that were not just functional, but beautiful. When the Devourers arrived, expecting to find a technologically advanced but creatively sterile species, they instead encountered a world that had learned to sing. The architects, inspired by human creativity and protected by celestial technology, drove off the Devourer, fleet through the power of architectural art that literally changed the shape of reality. The success at Vega was followed by victories at Rigel, Aldebaran, and the Wolf 359 system. Each time, the pattern was the same. Humanity shared its greatest gift, creativity, with species that had never learned to dream. In return, those species taught humans new ways to think, to create, to imagine. The galaxy was becoming a more creative place, one world at a time, standing on the observation deck, watching the stars that no longer seemed distant and cold. Marcus thought about the drawing that had started it all, the face on his wall that had called to him across the void. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked Zevra. "The quantum entanglement that brought us together? The war that followed?" She smiled, an expression that had become familiar and dear to him. "Over the months, how could I regret something that gave the galaxy its greatest gift? Which is hope," she said simply. For the first time in millennia, creative species aren't just surviving. They're thriving, growing, learning from each other. Marcus looked at the stars and saw not empty space, but infinite possibility. The Devourers were still out there, still consuming worlds. But now they faced something they had never encountered before. A galaxy united by creativity. The war wasn't over. It might never be over. But humanity had given the universe something worth fighting for. The right to dream, to create, to imagine a better tomorrow. And in the end, that was the most human victory of all. As the Harmony prepared for its next mission, Marcus returned to his quarters and began to draw. Not the face that had haunted his dreams, but new faces. Alien features from species they had yet to meet, minds they had yet to inspire. The universe was vast, and there were still so many stories to tell.